There's one stock that is about to explode in a good way. This stock is a uranium stock. The government today, under Donald Trump's executive orders, Trump plans to quadruple the amount of nuclear energy capacity by 2050 to 400 gigawatts, a massive amount of energy. And as a result of achieving that, getting towards that goal, the government took a stake in a company owned by CCJ, is the uranium company. I think there's another uranium company that could be next. The ticker is, well, I'll show you it in just a second, but it's not an isotope company. It's a uranium enrichment company. This is not financial advice. I'm not going to hold you hostage here. We'll jump into it right here.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
So this is the ticker. I have the dilution information pulled up. It's URG, your energy, because I want to show you they don't need cash. They're low risk. They're unlikely to sell shares into the market. This low means right here, if I can focus this thing, they don't have much sort of capacity to do offerings. So offering is offering shares to the public. So there's not a lot of supply as a result. And we can see that down here. And we look at how they've raised money in the past. Don't worry, I am slowly figuring out how to make this the right size. In September of last year, they did raise some money. There we go. Bingo. At $1, they raised $2 million. It's not a lot at all. 60 million right before that, though, a underwritten offering, not just a selling to retail. This underwritten offering in July, $60 million. So since then, they've got enough cash, but they could definitely use more. And look at the stock price. It's a penny stock, right? So if we look back in July of last year, we can basically see when they did raise that money. That's not the right year. Here we go. When they did raise that money in July of last year, it does have an effect on the share price, right? The share price did go down after that. So, they sold $2 million worth of stock after that $60 million raise, and it certainly had an effect on the share price. So that's what you have to be careful of. That's why we open a video about this with this dilution information, because this is less than $1 billion market cap. It's a young uranium mining company. Okay, so it's a penny stock. It's literally a dollar. Anything under $5, you could say, is a penny stock. Now, with all that said, it's still interesting for a lot of accounts. It trades over $10-15 million a day. So you can put 100K or 200K in this, even up to maybe 500K if you're able to space it out over like an hour or so. You're going to move the stock a little bit, but the point is, if we look at sort of the intraday action here, there is enough volume for this to be interesting. On a 1 hour basis, it gets up to $2 million of volume. So over an hour, can you put 500K in there? Almost. I'll say that. How's that? So look, this is the stock price. And if you look at other uranium stocks, they've sort of cooled off. Okay. U isn't looking super investable. It kind of looks like it's kind of thing that could go down, right? I mean, I'm not one to always draw a bunch of lines on my charts, but it doesn't look pretty. And then you have earnings coming up as well. DNN as well, looking like it's already gone. So it's not a category of chart that you want to look at. And then LEU has that earnings as well. as it rebounded, but you have to kind of be careful for earnings coming up. So this URG is interesting. Sure, it has earnings coming up, but as you can see, it hasn't gone up in the way that DNN has. So that's basically the look of the chart that gets interesting, volumes trailing off. And the big news, the reason why we're talking about this, is there are other companies that basically enrich the uranium. URG is in the category of extracting the uranium. You need both. I have talked about this ASPI as well. But this is the important news event today. Cameco, CCJ, there was an $80 billion nuclear energy initiative involving the U.S. government, Brookfield Asset Management, and Westinghouse Electric Company. This is from Trump's executive order, accelerating deployment of nuclear power using Westinghouse's technology. It's to create 100,000 jobs and bolster energy infrastructure. So CCJ holds almost half of Westinghouse. So that's the connection. And there is some deal terms, but the point is, if you look at CCJ's stock, that was obviously very bullish. Massive move up from 80 to, it's 25% in a day. It's absolutely insane. Very reminiscent of the OpenAI deal moves, or not even those. The AMD OpenAI deal move was a lot, but even more closely similar to when the government took a stake in Intel, or when the Department of Energy funded $400 billion, took a stake in MP Materials, the rare earth company, and that thing is up way more than 25%. It's up 200%. So is this thing going to keep going? It definitely could, but what's the safer move? Believe it or not, penny stock is starting to look like an attractive risk reward opportunity. Now, you don't want to put money in here that you can't afford to lose. It's a $1 stock, and we already looked at some of the dilution effects that have happened in the past. But with all that said, it's at a favorable level. So that's sort of the backdrop of why we're talking about this right now. And then if we look at actual projects, what they own, what they've got going on, here's some of their facilities. Wyoming is basically home base, and they're doing nuclear fuels. So there's no major partnerships yet. I mean, it's a penny stock. What are we expecting them to have a huge partnership? But they are sort of this uncovered gem. And if we look at the ETF URA, and DNN is a Canadian, so that's not particularly connected to CCJ, although it did have a move up today. This is the ETF. So as long as there's strength here, it pretty much bodes well for the sector. So here's URG, nothing to sneeze at. Super favorable left side peak here moving up, and just have to be aware of that earnings in early November. So if we look above at basically, typical penny stock information, here's what we want to be aware of. They did have, they're a tiny company. They're not trading much volume, but they do have some analysts, you could say risk factors. So if this Wyoming facility doesn't work out, that's a problem, but obviously it's in the US, so that's a major benefit if it does work out. And the US rare earths companies, I mentioned MP, but there's the other one, CRML as well. It's been down a lot now, but USAR, has US in the name. That thing went up a lot. So did it come down? It did. These are not long-term investments, but we can't just be looking at opportunities that move, a couple percent a day or less. Ford is not something that you necessarily want to buy into, right? It moves 4% a day. Sure, on an earnings move, it's interesting. It starts to get interesting. GM moves 4% a day. On an earnings move, you can get in there. But at the end of the day, you're really only getting from 65 to 70, over a few days. Maybe you get 10% over a week. It's very safe, it's very smooth, but to get that sort of return that beats the market, sometimes speculation is sort of the best move with a portion of your portfolio. And if you don't believe me, well, look at some of the speculative names. Like the quantum names in September went absolutely crazy. Actually, even more closely to URG, the uranium names went crazy in September as well with the market. So this is the ticker. It hasn't gone super crazy yet. It's super in the limelight, this sector, because of that government Trump investment in that Westinghouse subsidiary. So URG could be next. And if you like these ideas, hit that like button. If you haven't you haven't subscribed yet, and you want to see more, hit that subscribe. If you haven't participated in our make $1,000 in stocks in 90 days or get your money back guarantee, head over to stockscommunity.com. You can actually click that face right there that's going to show up in just a moment and take a look. So it's pretty risk-free. This is not financial advice, but I hope this all helps.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.